Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Rudy Page and welcome to another of our series, a chapter from my life and book. And I'm really pleased. Today we have Dr. Velma McClymont with us. Velma, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So, Velma, before we get going talking about your book, tell us a bit about yourself and your background, family background.
Okay. I was born in the hills of St. Anne, Jamaica. I always begin there, where I walked 3 miles to school and back every day, folks. I carried water, wood, and rock stones on my head, even though my father, my late father, was a dentist in this country. So, and then we came to England, my siblings, at the end of the 1960s, and a journey to the shattering of an illusion of what it meant then and still means now to belong. Because going to school in Jamaica, we were reading about Dick Whittington, the streets of London, London Bridge. So when we came here, we naturally thought, you know, we would be welcomed. And at convent school in London, I was spattered, told to thick phlegm. I can still see it. Here we go. One of my books. It was Book of the Year in Jamaica in '98. Set, you can see Battersea Power Station.
Okay, what's it called?
And Birds in the Wilderness. And a green cap, spattered, told to go back to where you come from. Later,
Join the meeting.
Leaving school, I'm jumping forward. Because we all know the story of the 60s coming here, etc. What happened. I worked at the Bank of England for many moons. It was at the Bank of England where I discovered historical books, because the Bank of England until about 2016 had a library at Threadneedle Street, and I read, you could borrow books, so I read 4 to 6 novels every month for nearly 13 years. And I always said, I want to be a writer if only. But after I left, I had my children, got married prior to that, and then had children, was home for a while, couldn't find any books for, you know, my children, that representation. And I thought, this is nonsense. I'm going to write. And hence I started writing and produce Hope Leaves Jamaica, my first book. This is the sequel. So the children, this is the Windrush story. It was used in Wandsworth in 1998 for Windrush 50th, and also on Channel 4, Junior Geography for Schools. Children left behind in Jamaica, then they come to join their parents. And so with that, I thought, I don't really know my history well enough, because obviously I'd left and worked at the Bank of England for many years. And folks, if you want to know about racism, the Bank of England, that's where you meet it. Your English is very good. Were you born here? No, I was born in Jamaica. My father was a dentist, is at the time. We had chauffeur-driven car, servants. Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. So we had all of that at the Bank of England. No offense, Velma, but you're so different from other colored people. And then, of course, that would be banter and people could talk. But moving on from that, I decided I had to go to university because I was meeting a lot of writers. And, you know, they were humoring me. Oh, you're so lucky to be able to write about your childhood and all that exotic landscape. And I thought, this is nonsense. So I had to go and learn history and also the tools to be able to write. Yes. And so university, and that ended up doing PhD and all this kind of stuff and research in Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, America, Scotland, you name it, Wales. And here I am.
Excellent.
I'm married with 2 children and 2 grandchildren as well.
Excellent. So that Windrush legacy is there to be seen. Actually, before we talk a bit more about your current book, I must congratulate you on your RJR Gleaner Awards for education. You know, very well done on that, receiving that honor. So who is your favorite writer then, Velma?
My favorite writer is also my muse. It's too long a story, Claude McKay.
Cool.
So obviously I've quoted, there's a quotation in the book from Claude McKay up there on the shelf. You can't see it. I have over a dozen books on Claude McKay, but my Green Hills of Jamaica, his autobiography, I'd call it. If you look, it really inspired. Can you see the jacket?
Yeah.
So this is Clarendon, but this is St. Anne as such. And I swapped this because I went on a visit to Clarendon, to the high school that's named after McKay. So they said, oh, we'd love a copy of Hopeless Jamaica. I said, yes. And I said, well, how about you giving me a copy? Oh, no, we can't do that. I said, well, you can't have a copy of this. And it was like, okay. So here we are. And the following day, he inspired me. I woke up just as you see him here, and he handed me an empty plate decorated with the poinsettia flowers around the rim. It was Garvey's birthday, because it was my birthday 2 days prior. So I thought I have to go to the place where McKay was born. I can't tell you the psychic things that happened there. And thereafter, he kept dreaming to me. And so hence, yeah.
Imagine, so that would have been what, the 17th of August?
Yes, so my birthday, 15th of August, the Reverend Delroy Sittle used to teach at McKay High School. So he said, oh, wow, you want to go there? I'll take you there. It's Clarendon. And then, so he took me on the 16th. And then the following morning, I woke up Garvey's birthday. I was invited to St. Anne's Bay Library to speak about Garvey. Obviously, I'm a St. Anne girl, and the fact that this was Book of the year before, so they wanted to know. But because McKay came with the empty plate at about 5:30 in the morning, I said, I can't talk about myself and I can't talk about Garvey. I got to talk about McKay. And I kid you not, my brother, the library was full and people were on the floor. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't talk about Garvey. This is what has happened. I've brought the book along for you all to see. And people said, ratted, we didn't remember nothing about Claude McKay from school. That was it. I photocopied the poems. We had an hour, my brother, of interaction. Everybody engaged, reciting different poems that they could remember. So yes.
Excellent. So was that St. Anne's Library?
Yes, St. Anne's Bay. There's a statue of Garvey outside.
I was going to say where the statue is, yeah.
Yes. I've appeared there probably about 6 times now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, whenever I go to Jamaica, you just pop in and then they'll say, oh, you got to come and talk to the children. Yeah.
I've made sure that I've got my picture next to his statue as well.
Yes, very proud of Garvey.
So, Velma, tell us, so what's your favorite word?
Absolute favorite word is Kumasi. Now, don't ask me. It's just in me. From the very moment I heard that word Kumasi, but of course it was when I was studying, I thought, wow, Ghana, I got to go to Ghana. My late father is buried there. He just didn't want to go home to Jamaica. In the 70s, everybody was back to Africa. The Sheikies took off his suit, everything.
Yeah.
And he went back to Africa, but he Accra. But Kumasi, it's just something, it's a bit like hearing a word that it reaches deep into your soul and you can't really even explain it to anybody. So obviously a character in my book is called Kumasi as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very inspiring. So to talk about your latest book. So why did you name it Little River?
Number of reasons. Again, this book crosses different landscapes. So we're talking about physical landscape from, if you think of the Highlands of Scotland, which is where it begins, that's physical, the journey to Jamaica, going to West Africa, bringing you back on the slave ship, again, physical. But there is also a spiritual landscape as well. So number of things. Little River is a place where I grew up. This is the photo of it, by the way. The river, you can't see Edinburgh Castle. There's a castle in St. Anne. So that's another, and it's here. So standing, the road here is Little River, but the river has dried up and gone underground. But the source of the river is further up in the hills, and it's very clear, and the water, I've been told. So I've asked my cousin, who is out there, a Rastafarian, to go and check it out. But spiritually, when my grandmother died in my arms in Jamaica in 2008, she gave me her last breath. So naturally, I then organized the funeral, did everything. After that, the same day, about an hour after she was buried, I had to take the eldest sister back to Montego Bay to the airport, but I was staying for a few days. And as we were approaching near Montego Bay, so I was playing with the title Little River and another title, which is the name of the plantation in here now. Won't tell you, you'll have to find it. To my surprise, I saw this sign. I'd been playing with the title for more than a year. There was a sign saying Little River. I said to the taxi driver, slow down, that's the title of my book. My grandmother had just died. And she literally more or less said, Rosie, this is the title of your book, Little River. But remember, it's also about rebirth. The river, it's also about journeying. Remember, the missionaries, you're going to hear about the Church of England and Church of Scotland in this one. So baptism happens at the river. Remember, picnics happen, everything drowning. So it's life, death, everything.
Revivalism.
Yeah.
Revivalism.
Absolutely. Listen, wait till the next one. I think it may well be volume 3. So in volume 2, you will get revivalism, because I will take you to 1912 at the end of the century, the 19th century. So yes, revivalism will come into it. Remember Rockers?
Yeah.
You know the bit in Rockers?
Yeah.
Where they're baptizing and Belly, the sort of the lady with there. Anyway, yes, let me say no more on that score.
Excellent. So how long did it take you to write the book then? Just tell us a bit about the journey in writing, because
this book took 23 years from the day Claude McKay gave it to me, but I have to tell you, it is a little bit more than 23 years. I realized 2 weeks ago. In 1998, during the Windrush celebrations, I was asked to do a series of talks and creative writing at Croydon Library. So we were looking at post-colonial studies. A young woman, white, came up to me with her father, and she said, oh, my mom is over there. She was born in Jamaica. She came here at 12. I thought, wow, I was nearly 12. Oh, ask her to come over. And she said, oh, no, she won't come over. She's a bit shy. And this woman, white Jamaican, and I thought, there's something here she doesn't want to talk about, because of course it's slavery. So it was the following year now that I went to Jamaica in 99 when McKay gave me. So the idea was swimming in my head. I just didn't know what to do with it. And I won a scholarship to do my PhD in 2000. I was lecturing at the same time. And that took me to St. Lucia. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
To Rodney Bay, Pigeon Island. Well, if you know at Rodney Bay, the marina, Pigeon Island is nearby, and that's where the British redcoats were stationed. So you're going to meet the redcoats in here hunting the maroons. And so I was doing my PhD, but I was looking at white women writers and obviously slavery and all of that. And I equally went to Barbados, to Cave Hill, the university, and the archives, and Codrington College. Now, in St. Lucia, Pigeon Island, I went to the loo, the little pub, and it was so oppressive. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I thought, oh my God, there are loads of spirits trapped in here. Rushed out. Went to Barbados the following year, went to Farley Hill, you know, the plantation, same thing happened in the loo, and I'm almost floored. And so, you know, from all of these situations, went to Rose Hall Plantation in Jamaica. Again, if you go down, you know, have you been to Rose Hall?
Yeah.
There is, you know, the bar is downstairs, like the cellar bit, then you will get the experience. If you go to Worthy Park out in Lloyders Vale, if you go to Clarendon, anywhere where the old plantations, St. Anne's Bay, where you've got Heritage Park and the great house, that slips me. So I was just making notes. And then Claude McKay, I wrote what I thought was the book, and it was being rejected. And I thought, this is not on. So I put it aside, but Claude McKay came again New Year's Eve, 2011. And so that was going to jump into 2012. And he was in New York in a library looking up and down. But prior to that, he'd come and given me lined paper, but I didn't understand fully. I was beginning to understand what he wanted from me, because obviously he couldn't write this book, because the technology wasn't there. So said to my husband, I saw Claude McKay in a library in New York. I have to go to New York. It turned out the annual Black Writers Conference was happening at Medgar Evers, and I met the curator of the African American Burial Ground, which is in Lower Manhattan. I don't know if you've been there.
No.
Well, it's a museum plus the burial ground, but because they were building around Wall Street and that, they really, the cemetery is 17th century and a bit of 18th century. So they removed the remains. It's African American burial ground, and only left about 200 and odd. Don't quote me because I've forgotten the numbers that they reinterred. It broke me. I wept, and I wept for our ancestors. And there's also the door of no return. So I threw some coins on a mound of earth where the remains were, reinterred, and prayed for them to rest in peace. And then I said, right, ancestors, inspire me, because this book can't seem to come out and it's been rejected. Went back to the apartment in Brooklyn and they floored me, and I was writing like mad. And then going to Scotland 2014 for the Glasgow Olympics. So I realized the book wasn't finished. I kept taking the book to Jamaica with me.
That was the Commonwealth Games, the Commonwealth.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, so after that, I ended up in Scotland 7 times, walking out Merchant City in Glasgow, walking out Edinburgh, speaking at the Parliament, going to Edinburgh Castle, and everywhere in Glasgow, and sometimes on your own, traveling on trains, and speaking at different events, because the Scots couldn't understand why we've got Scottish surnames. And so I realized I can see why they were rejecting the book, because the book wasn't ready. But you must remember, post George Floyd, publishers are making noises, but prior to that, nobody wanted to touch slavery as in a historical novel, because, you know, and I got some wonderful rejection letters saying, you know, this is brilliant, we love the setting, the characters, it's not for us. And in the end, post George Floyd, I said, I am going to publish my book myself, and then you keep the money, because every time you see somebody holding a book, remember, this is my 7th book, except that 2 are sitting there, contracts expired. So I know how publishing works. I know how much writers get all right? I know how much they get on Amazon as well and everything. So when you do this yourself, you pat yourself on the back, as my ancestors would say.
Self-reliance.
Yes, absolutely.
So having said all that, and we can see how active you are, how do you relax?
Would you believe that I relax by knitting? It's crazy. I have to read all the time because I've been reading forever. So I relax by, and I love music as well. So I listen to my favorite music is really mento. I love Jimmy Cliff most of all. Broke my heart when I went to Sun Power Productions in Kingston and he had gone abroad, you know, his music place. But so I relax listening to music. So mento, do you know mento?
Of course.
Like Iron Bar.
Yeah.
If I drink white rum and I tumble down, me no want dirty girl come fingle me. I know it's rather naughty.
So you're
and then of course, sorry?
You are a singer as well.
Because I was brought up in the church, so, but I can't sing the way, I'm more old-fashioned, you see what I mean? And because I went to Baptist school in Jamaica and Catholic school here, so I was a member of the choir here as well. And I also loved languages, so at some point I did Spanish at university as well. So you will meet Spanish in my next book. And of course I did French at school, so you will get a smattering of French. And I also did Latin because I went to convent school with nuns, and you know, they're very strict, so you'll get a smattering of Latin. So I love music, I love reading, I love knitting, and also people, I actually sew a lot. I just haven't been able to because I'm writing. So I will, like my headdresses, I will make them myself, buy the fabric. So in Brixton, there's a wonderful fabric place in Brixton, back Brixton Market. So you can buy whatever. And also in Tooting, because I grew up in Battersea, so those places are still dear to me.
Your local area. So
and of course the cinema as well. And theatre. By the way, I love drama. So but I haven't been to the theatre for a while, but I love it. And traveling. Yeah, of
course. So there's the creativity, there's the travel and drama. You can sit and watch and listen.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So my final question to you would be, or is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Well, I was a very shy, nervous child. You wouldn't believe it to hear me talking now, because, yeah, but it's wonderful, you see, because my mother came here when I was probably 18 months, so didn't know her. And I clung to my grandmother. And my great aunts and all these people were born in the 1880s and 90s and 1900. They would say, Carmel, this child don't talk, she quieting, this child going go far. But I didn't understand it. And even coming here, going to school, because I had a Jamaican accent and the nuns would iron it out, I equally, was shy to the point of nervousness that would almost make you speechless. So I grew up like that, being very shy, being very conscious, and also the racism at school. And so by the time I had grown up, I was always concerned about what people thought of me, what I looked like, what I sounded like. Everything was a huge worry for me. And today, I would say to my younger self, sure, people have got feet of clay. Nobody, no matter how high they reach, they've all got something about them, and nobody is better than you, because at the end of the day, we are only going one. You understand me? And so as a child, I didn't understand it. I thought, and when I went to school, because we had nuns, you know, you have all these nuns, and also because of the person my father was a dentist, and all his friends were My father knew everybody, by the way, because people put in a lot of gold teeth, you know, the canines or the post. And so I would see people on the TV, and then they would come to our house, music people, I won't tell you any names, and I would be in awe of them. But I was a very shy child. Today I look back at it, at the foolishness, thinking half of those people you saw on the TV and music stars, I'm not going to tell you, couldn't even afford the teeth that my father made for them, and was always, so now when I look back, it's not that you're upset with yourself. You almost feel like you were fooled into believing that people were, I think it was to do with class as well. So today I look back and I think to myself, I don't care who you are. I can walk into any room because I've worked very hard. So I'd say to my younger self, don't worry about what anybody thinks. Nobody is better than you, no matter what they have. We are just flesh and blood. And if only I knew that, I wouldn't have worried and wouldn't have been so nervous all the time.
Regardless of their background.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So just before we close, can you show us the book again, Little River? Can you let us know where people can purchase the book?
Two things to tell you. Here is Little River, people, and you can see, and on the back here, it's been endorsed by Professor Sir Jeff Palmer up in Scotland and George Ruddock from the Gleaner and others. Now, Little River, you just heard me said, I know how publishing works. So Little River is not yet on Amazon, because my grandmother was what you call a higgler, right? So you carry a suitcase on your head. Little River is to be found on my website, www.womansview.com, because if you know anything about publishing and selling your books on Amazon, you will know that Amazon takes a huge percentage of that book, as well as you setting up that account before you see a penny of it. So I'm always cynical. So when
go to your website, go to
my website, people, and it's £20 plus £5 postage, because as you can see, it's a big, heavy book. Yes.
And is it signed? Personal?
Yes, if people would like it signed, I will do so for them, and it'll be in the post as and when. So go to the website, people. www.womansview.com.
www.womansview.com, all one.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother, for inviting me.
No problem.
Much appreciated. Cheers.
Take care. Thank you.
All right, then you take care. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.